Guys, this was sent to me Thursday morning, and it's absolutely killing me. Apparently, there's a YouTuber out there who's accusing me of cyber stalking him, when frankly, all he needs is a bitch slap. But this was sent to me, and apparently they were commenting on his channel. John Luke writes, "Why should the guitarist of Kiss be stalking you? And for that matter, why should anyone care?" Well, this nerd responds to him and says, "Oh no, it was a different Vinnie Vincent. This was a bitter ex-JW loser in Ocean City, Florida. I haven't done anything wrong, even though I said I did. All I did was masturbate in front of an open window back in '93. I guess that's something we all do, is spank the monkey in front of an open window. Got me wondering, how did I get involved with these people to begin with? Something I want to get into. Well, let's get to it. How you doing, guys? It's funny. I look back at some of the friends I've had over the years, and if any one of them ever knew I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, they'd be like, "What? What the hell's wrong with you?" Sometimes I wonder this myself. As a matter of fact, people that I know now and have known over the last 20 years would be like, I can't see it. Even friends that I knew at the time, when they saw me out with them, they'd be like, "You just don't fit in." I always liked that because I never like to follow the crowd. Several weeks ago, Caspi had asked me on a video how I became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I basically told her I had done a video on it about 5 years ago, and she wanted to know the story. Now, I was initially going to upload the original video, but it was an earlier video. It was about 5 years ago, and there's a certain period I just am not impressed with my older videos, so I opted just to do it again. Now, I have never been a religious person, and I have never been one of those warm, fuzzy people. But there was a reason that I did catch interest. Now, my first contact with JWs came back in the 70s and 80s, and I was actually never very impressed with them. They were not likable people, and I always kind of shied away from them. They just seemed a little odd to me. But now the first time the JWs came to my door was in the late 90s. I knew nothing about them at all. But this older couple had come to my door. They were actually pleasant people, and we had quite a few conversations. Now, they had come back a couple of times, and one of their visits, they left me with a knowledge book. I guess they were using that at the time. And I'm like, wow, the illustrations were phenomenal. I thought it was really awesome. They came by the next time, and they left me with a New World Translation. Now, at the time, I was extremely Bible illiterate because I had never even opened up a Bible up until that point. When you get a book, what do? You start from the very beginning, which I did. I didn't get much past the flood when I was just totally lost. I mean, I went through it and I'm like, what the hell? I figured this was just beyond me. Well, I kind of put it aside. Now, at the time, this older couple just stopped coming by the house. I never understood why, but I found out years later that the local congregation had split off, so they went to another congregation. I guess they left me with another witness who never came by again. Years had gone by, and the witnesses never stopped. Now, initially, I thought I had offended them because they had left me an invitation to the memorial, and I never showed up. And I figured I must have pissed them off. Well, over the years, I kind of put it aside. That was about 2003. I used to go for coffee before work in the morning. As a matter of fact, the place I work at now, the whole group of us used to show up there. And we'd have coffee for a few hours before we all ventured off to go to work. There was a TV up on the wall, and we were watching it. And a movie that had come out at the time, which had gotten a lot of interest, was about the last 24 hours of the life of Christ. Now, the commercial came on, and we're all like, watching this. And I said to one of the girls there, I says, "We got to go see this," which we did. Now, the movie was done so well that I was sitting there like in awe of this. It was done that well. Now, I knew very little about the life of Christ. His last 24 hours, I knew he was crucified, but that's all I knew. After seeing the movie, it kind of sparked my interest. So I went home, and I again opened this Bible, blew off the dust and started reading, and I found the Gospels. Now, I didn't even know that there were 4 accounts of the life of Christ at that time, but I started reading it over and over and over. I probably was getting more of an understanding than I thought, but I remembered the 2 witnesses that had come by and said that they gave free Bible studies, home Bible studies, and that stuck with me. I thought I needed assistance. That was my first mistake, but this is what I thought. Now, the unfortunate thing I thought at the time was the witnesses were no longer coming to my house. And I didn't know where the local Kingdom Hall was. I knew where they all were in the area, but I didn't know where the one in my hometown was. At the time, this is going back to 2005, 2006, I was very threatening in appearance. I went about 230 pounds. This is when I worked out. I worked out heavily. And I had stopped by for gas one morning, and I saw a carload of witnesses. They definitely stood out. Now, as I'm filling the gas, I figured I got to stop them before they go. Well, I rushed the car. This is actually a story for another video. I'm not going to go into this now. To make a long story short, one of the guys offered me the home Bible study. This should have been my first red flag. Because the guy who gave me my Bible study was a major narcissistic control freak. And in essence, he represented Watchtower very well, only I didn't know it. Now, all I was interested in was a Bible study, but we all know this is not how it works out. Now, over the next few months, you're not even realizing that you're little by little being lured in. The one thing I had, they didn't have to do the bait and switch as far as the Bible went, because I already had the New World Translation. And by this point, they had discarded the knowledge book in favor of what does the Bible really teach, which, okay, you easily switch that, was one thing. Well, as the months progressed, I realized what a control freak this guy was. While I was away at work, this is where I should have cut ties, and I didn't. My neighbors had told me he was sneaking around my house. God knows what he was looking for, but he was looking for something to nail me on. He gave it away himself that he was actually going through my trash. Why? I don't know. Next time I saw him, he says, "Hey, did you used to smoke cigars?" And I'm like, yeah, why? "Oh, nothing, just thought I'd ask." This is a random question that everybody just asks you if you smoke cigars. Didn't dawn on me that I was doing housework one day and I came across an old pack of cigars and threw them away. I didn't like that. Now this on top of when our neighbors told me several times he had circled my house. The next time I saw him, I think, "Dude, if I'm not home, don't walk around my house." And his response was, "Why, you got something to hide?" And I'm like, "No, because it's my house." And he says, "Well, I didn't know if you were there or not." And I'm like, "Was my truck in the driveway?" And he goes, "No." Clue, I wasn't there. Well, I brushed it off, let it go. As the next few months progressed, I didn't realize now I qualified to become an unbaptized publisher. Still in the back of my mind, all I was looking for was a Bible study. This went on till I progressed to baptism. Now this was just under a year. And I didn't realize little by little I had gotten looped in. Now by this point in time, my Bible instructor, I kind of cut ties with him and wanted to stay away. He and I were not getting along very well, although this son of a bitch was a thorn in my side for the next 10 years, except when he was out of the country. My only regret is that I never slapped the ever-living shit out of this son of a bitch, because that's really what I wanted to do. The funny thing was, the day of my baptism, I sunk into a major funk, because this was not what I was looking for. But at the time, I was convinced this was the right thing to do, and deep down, I knew it was not. As I realized what spirituality I had going in was no longer there. Everything had become so by the book that you follow the rule book, and that was it. It was no longer here. I had all the watchtower hoo-ha here, but nothing here. Well, I made a mistake. I got baptized, and it was downhill from there. Well, I followed the crowd for a while, but as it turned out, I am no longer one. And I look back now, and I'm like, 10 years wasted. The only reason I don't really think about that too much is because I'm looking at others who spent their entire lives in the organization. And now, with the knowledge I have, I know what to warn people about. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't look at it as a mistake like I did then. So I have no problem put the warning out. How long will I be out here? Well, I was a JW for 10 years, did a lot of witnessing, and now I have a lot of unwitnessing to do. Anyways, Cass, that was how I became a JW. You guys all have a good day. I'll be talking to you soon.